So I was in sales and building guitars, or I should say woodworking, was, I think you probably can all relate to this. Whether you're in sales or in most jobs. In most jobs, there's never a start and a finish. It's normally you're either doing it for the first time or you're doing it more often. There's never an end of anything. So I remember the day exactly. I was, new to the corporate world, and my little house, I had a backyard that was half the size of my garage, and I'd go out there every week and cut that grass. And at the end of it, I felt so complete. And I'm like, oh, look at that grass. I couldn't wait for that shit to grow again and cut it one more time and say it was done. And I realized that was the thing that was missing. Like, there was no sense of completion or anything. So I mean, my dad had taught me enough about woodworking that I started buying tools and stuff. And yeah, I realized when I was done building a piece of furniture, I was like, holy cow, this is what I've been missing at work all these years. So then that just evolved into, let me try this guitar thing. See how and then once I realized that a 8-pound guitar was a lot lighter than a 400-pound built-in piece of furniture, and it didn't hurt my back anymore, I never turned back to furniture.
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I'm a guitar player. I'm a guitar player. And I've always modded guitars. I think we all mod guitars. Like, that's just what we do. And then it just became like this quest that every guitar player goes through, where I was buying custom guitars, like expensive custom. I have a guitar. I'm a guitar collector too. So I have a collection of guitars, really nice ones. And I was buying really expensive custom guitars, and just it got to the point where, like, maybe I should just try to build one. Since day zero, like not even day one, like day zero, I knew that the type of guitar I wanted to build and the quality needed to be done on a CNC, like day zero. Like, that was always, I knew that from the start. So before I even bought my first body blank, I knew I wanted a CNC. And so I just cut my teeth on building Telecaster bodies. And the beautiful thing about like that education, like every Telecaster body was a piece of junk and garbage. And I made a lot of mistakes. But, you have to go through that journey. You have to go through the journey of making mistakes. I sold every single one of those Telecaster bodies that I made, like the first one all the way to, like, I think, like 20. And that's how I bought my CNC. So, like, it's so, I know a lot of people who start out building guitars like, oh, this guitar they made, this first one is not very good. Same thing. They were terrible, and I still sold every single one of them. But yeah, like, my journey came from being a guitar player to modding guitars, to buying custom guitars, to, like, I'm just going to build this for myself. That's where I landed.
I had a knack for taking things apart at a young age, and I got my first guitar at the age of 9, and then my first electric, I was about 12 or 13, and I started taking it apart and modifying it. And it was one of those things where if you're going to do it right. So...
Also, it sounds like you've been doing it for quite a long time. Well, I'm not implying you're very old, but it sounds like you've been
about 34 at this point. So no, I built my first one when I was 15. So
amazing.
Yeah, nothing like full on build. I bought the neck because I was terrified to do fretwork, but everything else was all done by. It was actually a Super Nintendo. I gutted it out and put a block of maple inside of it.
Oh, nice.
It's just because a friend told me I couldn't do it.
About 4 years ago, I hadn't been playing guitar or doing anything with guitars for about 10 years, and I found my old guitar. And one of the reasons it put me off it was it didn't stay in tune for the whole duration of one song. So I thought, I can fix this. Because it had a crack in the neck pocket. And I thought, yeah, so I can sort all that out. And I got that working. The problem wasn't the crack in the neck socket. The problem was the neck wasn't screwed in tight enough. But this was part of the discovery. And I kind of just got addicted from there. At that point, shame to say, I didn't even know that you could intonate. I didn't know the saddles and the bridge went up and down or backwards and forwards or or any of that. I'm just a part-time player, I guess. And after that, I just kind of got addicted to it. I found some wood down the end of this garage that the previous occupant had left and kind of glued it together. I didn't even own a router at that point. and kind of chiseled out the cavities and put guitars together. And it was kind of gets addictive because you start looking for people doing it on YouTube as well. It's like, oh, I've learned how to do that. Oh, I could do that, and I could do that. So yeah, and I think gradually over time, I was trying out more and more silly ideas because I thought I could make a guitar out of pine, or I could make a guitar out of OSB or things like that. I think I didn't want to be taken seriously, otherwise people might judge me on the same level as everyone else. And then I suddenly made a guitar. I didn't suddenly make it. I made a guitar for my brother, and I thought I quite like to make these for other people. But I know I wasn't quite up to scratch to make guitars for other people. And I got in touch with Lewis from LT Custom Guitars, and he actually guided me through a build. And he told me all of his jigs he used and techniques, and most importantly, how not to throw yourself on the floor and start crying when it goes wrong. Because he had a way out of it. Every time something went wrong, he had a way out of it. So it was, and those are the times you really learn, I think.
So I actually made my first one in school for GCSE. How old was I? 15, something like that. Yeah, but went through a crazy stage, as all kids do. They want something wild. And my favourite guitar at the time was a Warlock, BC Rich Warlock. Yeah, I saw that little smirk there, Scott. So yeah, so I came up with this crazy shit. My mum couldn't convince my mum to buy me one, and I had some old crappy black strap copy thing, and it fell apart basically. So I was like, oh, okay, here we go. So I came up with the idea that I was like, I could make myself one for a school project, and thus dupe my mum into paying for all these expensive parts because, Mum, it's for school. It's my education. Yeah, and it worked. It's nice. I should have brought it up. Really, it's downstairs. It's crap, but anyway, but it works all right, and it still works now. So that was the first one, mate. And then I kind of came away from guitars and sort of live music for a while when I got my license and discovered cars. That's became a petrol head for years. Had a family young and whatnot, and then it was when was it now? Maybe about 8 years or so ago that I when got my old guitars back out of the loft for whatever reason and started playing it, and then just got back into music from there. So I had to go making another one just when I was off over Christmas break. It was also terrible, but slightly less terrible than the previous one. But it was made out of sapele, and it was massive, and it was like carrying a table around. So that's it just kind of got shelved. And then when I started doing it properly, so I did a few little bits, little switch replacements, electrical replacements, things like that for people on the side. And then I got into it properly about 4 years ago. I got a new job making furniture, quite high-end stuff. And that was a massive change because I was selling bathrooms before that. But I've always had this sort of undercurrent of being interested in woodworking, like from being a kid and putting things together, always playing with Lego and Meccano, things like that. So I've always had that sort of hands-on. So I just woke up one day, I was like, I fancy, career change, go do something with wood. So got a job in this furniture place, somehow. Started on the machines initially and then moved up onto the benches. So whilst I was there, I thought, I'll have a go at making guitars properly, though. I had all sort of these clever blokes there that, I could pick their brains off for the sort of fine woodworking aspect.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was good.
They're actually woodworkers, not necessarily guitar builders.
Exactly, yeah. So because obviously the furniture that they were making, it was high-end bespoke stuff, literally for rich and famous people. But yeah, it was good to pick the brains of the bench joiner guys that were really good at the fine furniture and that sort of the fine woodworking, and then sort of marry that up with my knowledge of guitars, bring them both together, and then you just start experimenting, having fun.
My background is, it's always been practical. I did like an apprenticeship in joinery and cabinet making, and did lots of different things, and ended up basically working in theatre, making sort of large scale props and scenery from primarily like West End theatre.
Amazing.
And they had a CNC machine there, and it just like blew my mind, that you could take a drawing and cut something out exactly the same shape and it's such an efficient way of working, especially not just time wise, but with materials. You can be far more efficient with your materials, and in guitar making, your materials are pretty expensive. So it's a no-brainer to just try and minimize any and just even if you keep it, I use all my scraps as well. I was just saying earlier, I find it useful in some way, and I can 9 times out of 10 I can machine them on the router or the laser or something like that, and make use of the little nice bits of timber you feel ashamed of throwing away or burning. So for me, no brainer being working the way I work, but everyone's different and that's their own way of doing it.
I feel like my guitar building journey is similar to so many new builders these days, but it was during the height of COVID, and Chicks Guitars released that video of anyone can make a guitar with no skills and minimal tools, and I must have watched that about 20 times. I played a lot of guitar growing up, so I had a good understanding of as a neck, strings, bridge, yada yada, but never thought of making one. And then that video was definitely a kickstart into should buy some wood and some saws and tools, try and make one. And there was a point making it where I didn't have pickups in, didn't know how to pick up, routed out, but I put strings on and the bridge on, and I sat down and started playing it. I was like, whoa, this feels like a guitar, and it actually kind of works. And then it's like, okay, I guess I'm going to do this for a while. It's pretty cool.
Well, the year was 2020. I was a site manager at a primary school, and this lovely little virus appeared and forced everyone to do a government-inspired Netflix and chill for 6 months. Unfortunately, I was one of the few essential workers, and I had to go to the school every day, even though we had 4 students, 1 head teacher, 1 teacher, and a woman who made the sandwiches for 6 months. Combined with that, I take immunosuppressants for a spinal condition. So the head teacher took that very seriously and said that I wasn't allowed within 50 feet of any humans at all. So I was basically quarantined to the top floor of this school for 6 months and couldn't do anything.
That's mad that you had to go in and still quarantine there.
I was the guy with the keys, so it was, and you have to have a member of maintenance there legally. I was also health and safety lead, so I had to be on site.
Right.
So I had loads of materials there, and I decided, because my desk was really tiny, I think I had the BMS computer, I had the CCTV computer, and my computer all on one desk. And as Scott will allude to, 3 computers and 4 monitors on one desk is a bit cramped. So I decided I was going to make my own custom desk, and I wanted to do a river table with the resin. But I didn't have any nice walnut slabs, so I was going to use just chunks and make my own river out of 1 inch by 1 inch pieces of wood and do it that way. So I had the timber, I had the resin, and then I did my YouTube education, which was a thing for most site managers, which was, I don't know how to work that, I don't know how to fix that, I'm going to watch on YouTube and then I'll learn. So I started watching resin videos, and I stumbled across Ben Crimson Guitars, his resin build, where he did the bog oak and the gold leaf clear resin guitar, and I was amazed. I'd never considered guitar building as an interest, but I loved his style. The comedy, the information, the whole thing really kind of spoke to me. And then I went back and I I watched the complication build, and I watched the 12-hour, and I watched the 6-hour, and I watched the 24-hour, and I watched the many 1-day stroke 22-day builds. And yeah, I was hooked. I was really enjoying it. And about that time, Ben had relocated to home because he was isolating as well. So at least twice a week, we were having the live stream builds that he was doing, the Cyberpunk build, Shrek's little brother, a couple of other bits. And then I got to know people like Scott, Todd, Bill from Borgonian Evolution, Big Unit. There was loads of people that I kind of got to know through the chat. And then once they announced the proper GGBO competition rather than the 2020 build along, I didn't have time to do the 2021, but I was just adamant that I'd have to get started on 2022.
My story was in March of 20, I was scheduled to go to Crimson to learn how to build a guitar at their little guitar workshop for a week. And turned out that wasn't going to happen, so I ended up taking some credit out of Crimson's shop instead and buying a kit and some of their good equipment. But by the way, everything I've ever got from Crimson has been top notch. And started going, well, I might as well do a build along. And I think I was one of the first 2 or 3 that were doing a build along. I said, well, I don't know how to do a YouTube channel. Let's go figure it out.
I definitely remember you from when I first started looking.
Yeah, me too. I remember Ray being here, one of the first I started watching for build alongs.
Yep, and E.R. Webster. Yeah, when I stumbled across it, it had been the Crimson video was like a month old, and I was like, I missed it. This was the chance of a lifetime. Yeah.
So Ray, what made you want to do the course in the first place? What was your interest in guitar?
I've been modding guitars for years, and I love guitars. I love playing, and I'm a terrible player, so I always think it's just the equipment's not good enough, right? So at Frankenstrat, I've been modifying for years and years and years, and then my thirst for guitars, the guitar acquisition syndrome. I never wanted to buy new guitars. I ended up buying older guitars, scratch and dent, or could use a setup, and I'm like, well, I know how to do setup. So I would start buying older ones and fixing them up. And then it was the next step. It's like, I just have a fascination with the detail on guitars and the fine work. And a difference between a playable guitar and a really good guitar is it's tiny. Not in practice, but in actual dimensions. It's a very small thing between having a rattling action or having a sweet sounding guitar, the intonation set up so it's just very sweet versus something that just sort of plays. I don't know, that's a dragon I've been chasing for many years. And then it became a habit. Then the YouTube thing was fun because make videos. And that second year, that dumbass, I'm like going, oh, I'm gonna make some really cool stuff. I'm gonna make a guitar that fits into a spike case that's also a rifle, this kind of stuff.
And that was that one. That's one of my favorites out of all the GGBOs, I think.
Thanks.